welcome to episode 25 of Expertise is Overrated, the podcast that takes the time to answer the questions you didn't know you didn't want the answer to. I'm Sean.
And I'm Vib, and neither of us has any clue what we're talking about. Now, usually this is where we award last week's Tinfoil Award, but surprisingly, as everything we said last week was absolutely flawless, there isn't one.
Yes, so instead, in a entirely self-indulgent move that will come as a surprise to no one at all, we've decided to dedicate an entire episode to historic tinfoils. So what we're going to do is just chat about some of the really stupid things that we've said over the last 24 episodes, try and pick some favourites, and then we thought what we would do is try and defend a couple of the really stupid things that we've said, and that the other one has called us out on.
Indeed. But before we move on, congratulations are in order, of course, so congrats.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, so for anyone listening who's been following, and if you have, get a life. But
also keep listening.
Also keep listening. We had our baby a few weeks ago.
We not being Sean and me.
No, of course.
Just to clarify.
Yeah, because also then you congratulating me would be, again, wildly self-indulgent if it was our baby.
Yes, that's very true.
Let's row back viciously from this line of reasoning. No, my wife and I had our baby at the start of November. I don't know when this episode's going to go out, but yeah,
probably sometime in 2024. So
feels like it at this stage. Everyone's doing very well, and it's a big adjustment, but we're all very happy.
Fantastic to hear that, and it just means that you have yet another excuse for saying stupid shit.
Yeah, sleep deprivation is real.
Yeah, I mean, we've had low blood sugar, we've had just you being stupid, so the list goes on.
It really does.
And this actually leads me very nicely on to the fact that, as it stands, 24 episodes have been recorded. You're very much in the lead when it comes to the tinfoils.
I'm nailing it, haven't I?
You really are. You've actually got half of them.
Oh, crap! I hadn't put...
And that's including an episode that doesn't have any tinfoil.
Yeah. I'm over 50% of those episodes awarded a tinfoil. That's really good. There's two episodes that don't have tinfoil.
Oh, yeah, very, very true.
10 doesn't have one, because 10 was another We Said Nothing Wrong. That was our episode on early access in the video games industry. And obviously 24 doesn't have one because we were just completely correct about Tom Bombadil.
I mean, yeah.
So, yeah.
And even so out of 22 episodes...
I've got 12 of them. Well, let's also point out that of those 22 episodes, 3 of them, the tinfoils didn't go to either you or me. So we've got 2 shared tinfoils.
Yes.
Those are the... I don't even know. I don't understand the words written here. The existence of rat men in Warhammer Fantasy, where I think we were both just high.
I mean, not to sort of give the game away, but that's got to be the worst one we've had. I mean, what were we thinking?
Yeah,
that complete was... leave of absence at the same time.
Yeah, I just think, I don't know. We must have both been drunk or something. Just completely went off on one.
Are you not usually drunk for this?
It's a point. I have to say I'm.
Maybe we're both sober, and that's why that happened.
I am on coffee today rather than real drinks. Also, we did all of Mistborn in 15 minutes. Was a good one. I think because it took us half an hour and we didn't do all of Mistborn.
I think it even took us half an hour before we started discussing Mistborn, and then we spent another half an hour not explaining any of it. So, well done us. Yeah, and that leaves me with 7.
Does leave you with 7, and there are some good ones in there.
There are some good ones in there.
But we should also, special mention needs to go out to Ellie, our one-time guest on the show, who successfully has a 100% episode to tinfoil record. And I think this one actually has to be my favourite of all the tinfoils that we've given out, and they are many, and we should run through them all, actually, I think, because there's some absolute doozies in here.
I could not agree with you more.
But Ellie's wizards should wear tinfoil hats to protect them from the Imperious curse.
It's fantastic stuff, isn't it? Like, really inspired.
Absolutely. Completely out of left field.
I mean, Ellie, if you're listening, if you'd like to come back, you are more than welcome, because that was absolute gold.
Yes.
Or tin.
Absolute tin.
Oh no, I might get today's. I don't know.
That's...
It'd be a special kind of shame to win the tinfoil award for the tinfoil off, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I've got some nonsense coming. I think you might be safe.
I mean, some of yours are bad enough that I may just want to give them double tinfoil.
I've just been looking at this list, and I've had a lot of tinfoil on the trot. I don't think you've got any. You don't. You don't have
That's interesting.
any.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, other than you had episodes 9 and 11, and we didn't give out for 10. But I had. Yeah, this is bad. The worst one is I had tinfoil in. I've had tinfoil, not counting episode 24, in the last 4 episodes.
Oh yeah, 20, 21, 22, and 23.
That's so bad.
And 21 and 23 were particularly bad.
21 and 23. Oh, we should run through them just so that because we're just rattling off numbers here and people won't remember.
Our fans should be hardcore enough to know exactly what episodes correspond to which number.
Excuse us while we gatekeep our 7 fans.
So okay, do you want to go through them in order?
Yes, let's do them in episode order. So the very first episode was on the Dresden Files, and I suggested that you can't swing a cat in the Dresden Files without hitting a Starborn. Spoiler alert, I will be defending that later in the show.
Oh no. Really?
Yep.
That's the one?
It's not the one, it's one of the ones.
Okay, fine. It's great, actually. This serves as a little sort of reminder to new listeners. How can you remind new listeners? Oh, well, you know what I mean. Of our back catalogue. And
Yes.
It is varied and great. Episode 2. Episode 2 was, of course, our first ever hot take, wasn't it?
Yes, that was my hot take on why Aragorn has no claim to the throne of Gondor.
Yeah, and I was clearly so incensed that I started talking about prescient kings of Gondor for some reason.
Yes, this was the idea that the kings of Gondor somehow predicted that they needed to vanish in order to save the world, and I think you just wanted to make it stop.
I think I did. I still actually, mark that day in my calendar as one of the worst days ever.
I keep going back and re-listening to that episode. I like it so much.
You're the worst.
Episode 3 was our first shared hot take. Our first shared tinfoil. That was the existence of Skaven.
Yeah,
the Ratmen.
That's such a weird one.
I don't know what we were on about.
Episode 4 is great. Fulgrim is a painting.
Yeah. Warhammer 40k, Fulgrim the Primarch. Primarch is a painting. I maintain that this is true. I'm not defending it because you shouldn't need to defend truth.
I think we can at some point agree that it was true. Maybe once upon a time in a parallel universe.
It may not have been true at the moment of speaking, but if I'd said it earlier, it would have been true.
I mean, if GW loves anything, they love a retcon, so...
Yes. Episode 5 also was me. This was our... Episode 5 was Who is the Hero of A Song of Ice and Fire?
Yes, yeah.
And I got two tinfoils in one episode here. One for saying that Arya Stark's plot is purely magical, which... Okay, let's move past that. But I also coined the term large folk because I couldn't work out what the opposite of small folk is. Spoiler alert: it's noble.
Yes, it's definitely not large folk.
It's just the word nobles.
The thing that amazes me about that particular tinfoil is that it didn't actually go to you saying Bran Stark is the hero of Song of Ice and Fire. Somehow.
Yes, because you hate
even more stupid shit.
You hate the fact that I'm right about that, and that's why I did get the tinfoil for it.
You've never been right in your life. Anyway, episode 6, we were back in the world of the Dresden Files when I said that Dracul is a Black Court elder.
I know. I'm surprised that you're not defending this because this feels like something that you've repeated.
I don't need to defend things that are merely true. You know, the fact that you can't get your head around that, and the fact that you made very sure not to say anything stupid in episode 6. You know,
I don't think there's a single episode in which I've said nothing stupid.
No, but you were incensed by that particular statement of mine.
I was very unhappy. There's another Dracul tinfoil further down the list. Don't worry, he reappears. Episode 7 was our first Star Wars episode where we ranked all of the Star Wars films, and I got tinfoil in that for I think the second half hour of that episode.
Yeah, my I'm still angry about that one. I feel my blood pressure is not doing well as a result of these recordings. Not gonna lie. Yeah, tinfoil for like half an episode is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's just I started talking about The Last Jedi, and it all went downhill from there.
Then episode 8, one of my all-time favorites. This may have been. I don't actually remember what the episode was about.
Why do wizards hide from muggles?
Well, no, because that's episode 14 for which Ellie got the thing.
No, episode 14 is the Ministry of Magic and Insurgency.
Oh, you're absolutely spot on. My goodness, I should listen to our own podcast, shouldn't I?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to make a little note of that. Tinfoil, not knowing.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Back catalogue. Anyway,
listen. It's been a busy week, but that episode 8, yeah, why do muggles hide from wizards? Gun beats stick every time, which in and of itself was tinfoil worthy.
Yeah.
You somehow went from calling me morally bankrupt, i.e., being the moral center, to then agreeing with Grindelwald in about 30 seconds, which was great.
I'd spent the last 7 episodes quietly positioning myself as the sort of liberal moral center of the podcast. And then I think I said, look, it's not that Grindelwald had a point, but...
and the great thing about that is I had to do nothing whatsoever. You just completely dug your own grave there.
Dug that trap for myself. It was quite good.
That was great.
Episode 9, Who Can Lift Mjolnir in the MCU? You came out and asserted that Loki is definitely not dead.
Definitely, yes.
Definitely not.
I mean, I stand by that. We'll hear more on that later.
Ooh, sizzle, sizzle.
Oh, yeah. And then, of course, episode 10, we were flawless once again.
Yeah.
And then episode 11, another one we'll hear about later. Finwë is the heir of to the throne of Gondor.
Okay, I can't believe we're going back to this. I'm going to need to get out, I don't even know what, some sort of... I don't understand how you get there. I think we do need to go back to this.
I will explain it to you with the help of the family trees.
please do. Episode 12. So this is quite good because in our list it looks like this and the Grindelwald one happened back to back. They obviously didn't. There were a number of episodes in the way. But so episode 12 was another Dresden Files one. This is your hot take, in fact. Lara Wraith is a good person. So protected as you were by hot take privilege, I uttered the phrase, I am Michael Carpenter. And so that
verbatim, yes.
Yeah, that coming immediately in the list following, it's not that Grindelwald had a point, but is quite good, I think.
See, the great thing about that is even without, I mean, we say hot take community, it's not really a thing, but you get a bit more... leeway.
It's quite hard. You can't really get tinfoil for the subject of your hot take.
But even, I mean, I did say many things that many listeners have disagreed with since, on Reddit particularly. And somehow you uttering the phrase, I am Michael Carpenter, probably would have always won as tinfoil.
Always. That's doesn't matter what you'd said. That's automatic tinfoil.
Which was then followed by me uttering the phrase, Nurgle isn't a chaos god.
Yeah.
Which was pretty good as well.
I would direct everyone to Creative Assembly's recent videos on the 4 Chaos Gods and how they will be implemented in Warhammer 3. It's a hefty spotlight on Nurgle, but never mind.
What does CA know? Let's be honest.
If you listen to Reddit, not a lot. Episode 14. This was Ellie's tinfoil.
Such a good one, yeah.
Tinfoil for tinfoil. Wizards should wear tinfoil hats.
And then 15, you just have a chip on your shoulder about this one, don't you? Bran is the best warrior in A Song of Ice and Fire. Not just is he the hero, he's also the best warrior all of a
It's
sudden.
true.
You're just such
Can't fight someone who can control your mind.
Let's just move on.
16. I can't remember what was 16. This was just our chat about MCU TV.
MCU,
in the wake of Loki, primarily, and you said Batman is just a bad Tony Stark and not a superhero, and I just think a lot of people were saddened by that.
I'm sure a lot of people also agreed. What's actually really funny about that episode is that we discussed MCU in general because Loki, the TV show, just aired, and then think back to 5 weeks prior to that where I said Loki is definitely not dead. Just quite funny, really, how that worked out.
Yeah, the two things are not, they can stand together, but
yeah, sure, but it's just kind of funny.
It was good.
Yeah, episode 17 was a shared one, the Mistborn episode. We still apologise for that. I think we always will. I
have a personal apology for that one. That was my attempt to stitch you up as being a means justify the ends justify the means, consequence focused person and picking pretty much the worst person to make that argument with.
Bloody Lord Ruler. You also spoiled the books for me, which was great.
I did do that, didn't I? That was bad.
Yeah. How did you escape Tinfoil in that one?
I don't know. Really, I think I just hid behind the fact that we were both stupid in that one. Then, episode 18 when we were talking about Firefly. I made a lot of my tinfoils make people sad. I said that all of the action in Buffy is bad.
You just went out of your way, like an episode on Firefly. You just went out of your way to have a go at Buffy. It was just so unnecessary.
Both made by Joss Whedon. I maintain it's not beyond the realms. And I'm not going to reopen that can.
Don't get into it. Let's instead move on to episode 19, where I coined a wonderful new word: humanoid.
Yeah, that was so bad.
I like it. I've not used it since. I'm afraid to say, but maybe I will one day.
I'm glad. Let's just let that one die the death it needs to.
And then episode 20 has to be one of the all-time best ever tinfoil moments, and most of it happened off air.
Yeah, I just want to point out that episode 20 started a worrying trend of just me getting tinfoil. There's four on the trot of me getting tinfoil, but episode 20 was this was the one where, as you say, the tinfoil's not actually on mic. It was skillfully edited out by you, but I started an episode, our first episode with no offense to Ellie, well-known guest. I started that episode with low blood sugar on the assumption that everything would be absolutely fine, and it wasn't. And I sort of had a catastrophic decompression mid-episode.
It was honestly hilarious at the time of recording. And also very impressive that you managed to somehow come off as more ridiculous than our guest, who also at the time had a very newborn baby to look after. So, well done.
Yeah, it was good. Episode 21. I was going to run through the next three quickly.
You do the honors. I mean, they're all your brand of bullshit. So,
episode 21. The Force is just magic. True. Episode 22. So this is the first hot take where the haver of the hot take also got the tinfoil. But this was I went off on one about the McRib, and it turns out I just don't understand McDonald's. That was quite funny.
This was your attempt at teaching everyone economics.
Yeah.
This was the worst possible example.
Yeah, this was my attempt to explain that businesses don't owe their customers anything. But I picked the McRib as an example of poor business sense, and it turns out it's not. And then finally, episode 23 was this. That was the awful Dracul as the progenitor of all vampires in the Dresden Files, and he somehow carved off parts of himself to be the first black, white, and red court, and they're all various aspects of himself, and I just got confused.
I mean, there's a discussion in there.
I think there is, but I think it requires a lot more thought than I gave it.
I mean, we could put that on a t-shirt.
We should have t-shirts.
We should have t-shirts. We should do some merch. But there you have it. That's a lot of tinfoils. A lot of tinfoils to you.
Yeah.
I think on the whole, you just can't get away from the fact that you tried to throw me under the bus for saying I'm an abhorrent, immoral human, and then turning yourself into exactly that. It's hard to get away from that, you know.
Yeah.
I really think you're the worst of the two of us.
I think it's hard to argue with statistics, right?
Actually, it's incredibly easy to argue with statistics.
Oh, all right. It's hard to argue with statistics as simple as I've got 12 majority. And you've got 7.
That's fair enough. Yes.
I mean, I'm sure current politicians in the UK would manage it, but
they would just lie and say no, I don't have more. What are you talking about?
Well, you can't investigate things that happened in the past.
But speaking of which, that's exactly what we're going to do. Not just that, we're actually going to try and retcon our own past, essentially.
We are, which actually will be familiar. We need to get off this. I've been spending too much time on Twitter.
You really have.
It's so easy to do, like baby in one hand, phone in the other, doom scroll Twitter.
Terrible parenting, that. You can't keep something as heinous and evil as Twitter nearby to a child. That's
probably true.
Awful.
Probably
think
true.
of the bad influence. No, I'm sure it is easily done. But yes, we are here to fight for exoneration of at least one tinfoil.
Yes, I think that's fair. So I've got 2 that I think are defensible.
You're only going to try and do 2. Wow. Okay.
Well,
I have such a long list.
Well, I had a lot to pick from. No, I've got sort of 2, sort of 3. Two very much stand together. So I'm doing them as one. I'm picking one specific.
Is this going to be Grindelwald had a point, but
Grindelwald had a point, but I am Michael Carpenter and thus correct. No, although. No,
I've just remembered I'm really quite busy actually right now. I need to go and do some stuff.
Thank you for joining us for our recap of the last 24 episodes.
I'm just going to edit in the fact that I won somehow.
Okay, that's fair.
No, okay, so you're gonna do 2/3.
2/3, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna try and do 2. I mean,
okay.
I've already sort of sizzled them, right? So
so have I. I think. Do you want to go first?
Well, so I'm going to try to defend Loki's definitely not dead, so episode 9's tinfoil. And I'm also going to go back to my favourite pastime, apparently, and look at more Lord of the Rings family trees. And I will explain to you again why Finwë is the actual heir to the Throne of Gondor.
All right.
Before we do that, I guess, what are you going to try and defend?
Okay, so I'm going to try and defend Swing a Cat, Hit a Starborn.
Okay.
I don't know that I'm defending the statement, but I'm probably just going to come in off a long run at Jim Butcher. And I'm going to try and defend The Last Jedi again.
No.
But I'm going to try and do it as seriously as possible. Because I recognise that every time I've done it before, I've been a bit tongue-in-cheek. So what I'm going to try and do is explain why... Essentially explain why it's a genuinely held thing for me and that I'm not just trolling people when I say that I like it.
Okay, fine. This is going to be a critical review of The Last Jedi by you.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while, so that's going to
Yeah,
go
that
well.
won't help.
But I'm in so doing, I'm probably going to skim over the Force is just magic as well, because I think that's part of it. I think
the Force is just magic. That one just hurts me so much. But no, let me kick us off, because I think this one, Loki is definitely not dead. Right? Obviously, I said that quite a few weeks before Loki came out, the TV show. And in which, of course, we see possibly where the MCU is kind of heading. Similarly, we of course know that Thor is going to be recast.
Yeah.
Natalie Portman is eventually going to take that on. And the MCU's gone through some sort of redevelopment, kind of like they do in the comics, right? They, the heroes die all the time and they come back.
Well, yeah, they've killed off Iron Man and Captain America, and they're going to, in some way, get rid of Thor as well.
Yeah,
but they also, there is a new Captain America, obviously, and I suspect we're going to get a new-ish or an Iron Man adjacent type character.
There's like 1,000 Iron Men anyway already, so...
Well, you need someone really rich, basically.
Someone's going to get that estate, right? So
yeah, it's the Justice League problem, isn't it? You need someone to fund all the stupid shit that they have.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
That's why they keep Batman around.
And this is critically... The thing is that I did not say Tom Hiddleston is dead. Or is definitely not dead, rather.
Okay.
I did say Loki, and I think we saw so many parallel universes.
True.
I think the odds that Loki, the character, is completely and utterly dead, it just isn't the case.
Okay, I can see that, and I guess we've got Sylvie now from the Loki TV series,
who is just Loki,
who is just Loki, and obviously, Spider-Man: No Way Home is coming in a few days. Actually,
I think the 15th, right? Is that
the 15th? So 10 days time, which will introduce. It looks like from the trailers, and I've not seen many of them, but from what I have seen, it looks like they're introducing multiverses with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
Which opens up the possibility of Tom Hiddleston's Loki also not necessarily like returning fully, but at least making cameos in future.
Well, you get Loki from the TV show, don't you?
Yeah.
Who I think that'd be really, if they do that. So the reason I think Loki should stay dead is that he had a complete narrative arc, which ends with Thanos killing him.
He did. Well, yeah, he did. I suppose there's an argument to be said that he and Thor need to have another one-to-one type thing.
But yes, maybe
because they brought that up again in the TV show a little bit, right?
I don't think that the characters don't need that. The fans need that. Right?
Yes, yeah, but if we know anything about the MCU, like including the sort of post-credit type scenes,
yeah,
the one we discussed very much in the Loki TV show, that they like to pay lip service to their fans, don't they?
That's true.
So no, I think we can both agree that Loki, the character, is not fully dead. Definitely is perhaps a strong word.
Yeah, I think what I was taking when we gave you that tinfoil, I think what I was taking exception to was the
sheer confidence.
The sheer. There is no way, it is entirely impossible for Loki to be dead. I think if we think about the MCU that we have, I think you're probably right, because I think it would be too brave for them to just say, "Nah, he's dead." That's it. Sorry.
Yeah, they won't do that.
For all the fan service reasons,
well.
Yeah. For all the fan service reasons that you talk about. But I'd like him to be dead. I'd like to never see Tom Hiddleston's Loki again, because that's not fair, because I love Tom Hiddleston I love Tom Hiddleston as Loki. He's one of the best things about the MCU. But that arc of the MCU is done for me, and bringing him back is just fan service.
Yes.
And I don't like things that are done just for fan service, I think.
No, I quite agree. And it's clear they sort of want to move forward. They're recasting virtually everyone, or at least promoting some, say, junior Avengers into more prominent
Yeah,
roles and things like that. So
yeah.
I agree. I think Tom Hiddleston will certainly be phased out, or may never actually appear in a film again. That's possible.
I suspect we'll see him in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, there's a lot of multiverse stuff coming, isn't there?
Well,
That's
I
really
think,
the thing.
yeah, I think that. Well, I don't know. I've not really been paying enough attention, but I think the whole point of the next Spider-Man film is to open up the fact that there's multiverses, such that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness doesn't break people.
I mean, look, they're crazy enough to bring back Tobey Maguire, so
I know. Who must? What age is Tobey Maguire now? Because he was like 40 when they made the films.
Yeah, but he's always had the face of like a 12-year-old, so I guess it works. Sorry, Toby, if you're out there listening, but it's true.
Yeah. No. I mean, yeah. Fair enough.
Also, Toby, if you are out there listening, what on earth happened to you, man? Have you got nothing better to do with your life?
What, than appear in a Marvel film?
No, then listen to this podcast.
Right? Yeah, no, that's fair.
By all means, appear in Marvel films, absolutely. Marvel,
I thought
if
you were
listening, I'm definitely up for it.
Yeah, Kevin, if you're... it's all right. I know you're busy. You don't need to reply to my emails straight away, but, you know...
But within the next, 5 to 6 business days would be great.
Yeah, it's just polite.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay, so Loki's definitely not dead. I don't know that... I'm going to take that tinfoil away, but I think you've defended your position quite well there.
I mean, you just don't know that you're going to take it away yet.
Okay. I think you've made a good case.
Okay.
For that.
So I think we should try and tackle Swing a Cat, Hit a Starboard.
Okay. I think
which is one of my favourite names for tinfoil.
It's really pithy, isn't it?
Because I think you actually didn't say that exact phrase in the actual episode. I feel we coined
no. I said there's Starborn all over the place. I think
you just started naming off characters, and I was like, how is that? Every other person is a Starborn. I think that's sort of how it happened.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the point with this is that the idea of Starborn has been introduced, but we don't know enough about it to understand what it means. And as such, the fandom at large has just started declaring that people must be Starborn based on, I don't know, criteria that sort of are being made up by the fandom. Now, there are definitely people in the series who are quote unquote confirmed as Starborn in the Dresden Files. So Harry Dresden is one of them. Listens, the Fomor guy, is another. And I think I'm right in saying that at least one of Rashid and or Elaine is actually in the text confirmed as Starborn, and I think the other one is confirmed by Jim Butcher.
Yeah, as is tradition on this,
he doesn't
podcast,
know what he's talking about.
Exactly, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So I wouldn't rely too much on him. I do believe you're right. I want to say Rashid, but I think Rashid.
Why. I think Rashid, and I think the Elaine one is they share she and Harry's birthday is so close that it's all linked in with Justin collecting and trying to find out who the Starborn is. Basically, I think is how it all works. But
yeah, the fandom not really likes anything to do with Elaine. So that's
that I grant you that's not swing a cat, hit a Starborn. But until I think the problem is it's a concept that was introduced too long ago in the books for it to still not be explained. And I don't mind us the fandom not knowing what's Uriel actually up to, what's Lucifer actually up to, what's Nicodemus are actually up to, why is Titania being the way she is, right? These are things that can be left as questions, but it feels to me like the existence of something called Starborn has been a big deal for what feels now like 10 books, something like that. And
I mean, I would say perhaps longer, right? Because there's that that scene with Ebb and Harry, because Harry likes to use the exclamation "stars and stones," and
Yeah,
it turns out that means something very
mm,
specific,
exactly,
and one
exactly.
imagines it's linked to being a starborn.
I think so. And yeah,
He
there's a
said that
line
since
in
book one, right? So
yeah, he's said stars and stones since book one, and there's a line from one of the Black Court, I think, in Battlegrounds about how Harry is to be a gift for the stars and stones, um, or something like that. But
was that
like,
not Dracul who said that?
no, it's Mavra who says it about Dracul about Harry, I think.
Right, right, okay.
But the issue that I have is it feels too much like Jim Butcher is sitting there twiddling a mustache that he may or may not have grown, going, "Ahaha, am I so clever? I've invented this thing, and only I know what it is, and it's going to be seeded throughout." And I just think it's going to be really underwhelming. So I guess maybe the tinfoil itself is well granted because it's probably not true. There's probably only two or three of them kicking around, but it just feels like it's being built up to be this massive thing, and it's only ever going to let us down.
Yes, I mean, all we really have to go on is the fact that they're somehow immune to Nemesis.
And outsiders at large.
Yeah,
But
yeah, but I mean,
so
because Rashid's a weird one anyway. So I guess we have confirmed Harry, and we have confirmed Listens,
yeah,
which it's not exactly swinging cat hit Starborn, is it?
maybe not. But I think even if the statement is not correct, I think that the feeling behind it of oh piss off with more Starborn shit.
Oh, that I'll give you 100%.
I think is warranted.
Completely warranted. You just expressed it badly, but what else would we have expected from you?
Right. So what? I feel like the next two are bigger.
Well, I think we'll have to save The Last Jedi for the end, and this will turn into an episode of, let's talk about The Last Jedi again. I think my point with Finwë, if I may, is just quite simple.
All right.
And I think it's probably very similar to the way it was last time. It just comes down to the fact that traditionally royal lines, right, that the crown gets passed to the nearest male blood relative.
Yeah.
And I think the point is that in Tolkien's family trees, it just so happens that there are fewer degrees of separation between Isildur, the last king, and Finwë than there are between Isildur and Aragorn. And so hence my assertion is just quite simple, that if you do the maths, and as you very nicely pointed out before, you can't argue with the statistics.
Yeah.
If you do the maths, then Finwë is up there. I should correct myself slightly in that we're because the family tree is so complex that I don't actually know, but we are probably closer to saying Finarfin than Finwë, perhaps. Might be the nearest living relative.
Okay. You're still wrong.
Why?
But
Because you think it's directional, it has to go down, but there is absolutely. But is that ever passed down in law?
Succession. Okay, this is where we have to step away from fantasy and look at real world analogs.
Yes.
And real world analogs, succession always goes down first. It always goes to sons, grandsons, great grandsons, etc. before it goes up. And generally speaking, It only ever goes up to go across to go down again.
Yes. But this is where it becomes complicated, because in real world situations, there is always someone very close who like is down of where you were before. And so my assertion purely in the world of Tolkien is that it's not completely outside the realms of possibility that they would look up instead, because it is actually closer. Especially given the whole sort of dilution of Numenorian blood, and as you pointed out in your hot take, they are a bit snobby when it comes to that.
They are, it's true.
But then, of course, Finarf and Finwë are actual high elves, and so giving them the throne of a king of men is perhaps a little outrageous.
Yeah, I just I just come back to pretty simple constitution. You don't go up if you can go down.
Okay.
I take the point that in Tolkien that's not necessarily the case, because you can go up to someone who's alive, which generally speaking you can't do in the real world, because if you can go up to someone who's still alive, they'd be king already.
Yes.
Which
I mean,
I guess
we're just going to agree to disagree on this. I think it just turns out that you have no imagination, and that's fine. Not everyone does.
Wow, savage.
Yes,
Accurate,
I'm using
but
my tinfoils to just hurt you. That's
accurate, but savage. I used to have an imagination, but then I got tired,
and you started doing this.
and then I just started doing this, and it wore me out.
So yeah, I mean, I will stand by it, but I will accept that many people will disagree with me.
Okay, all right. I think that's fine. I'm trying desperately to come up with another line of argument, because I don't really want to talk about The Last Jedi again, because people just shout at me.
No, I'm just going to get up and leave and let you ramble.
All right. No, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this because I feel like too often, whenever I bring this up, people get upset with me before they listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah. So to orient the listeners, if I may, essentially this sort of started with you crowning The Last Jedi as the best Star Wars film ever made, correct?
Did I? I can't remember if I crowned it or if I said it was second. I think
you may have put Empire first. I can't remember.
I think I actually crowned it to make a point. But
I think you did.
I'm going to find our notes. No, I did crown The Last Jedi as the best Star Wars film ever made.
Yeah.
And
as you rightly say, that immediately antagonizes most people.
Everyone,
myself
I think.
Yes.
And you know what? I will actually row that one back. It's not the best Star Wars film ever made.
Ooh, interesting. See, because I thought you genuinely believed that.
I think it might be the best film in the Star Wars canon. But that doesn't mean it's the best Star Wars film.
Ooh, you're going to have to explain that distinction.
Well, this might come back to there are no good Star Wars films, which I think is a conversation that we need to have. But I think it is one that we actually agree on. All Star Wars films are bad. We just love them.
Okay, but then to reorient our listeners again, my main, and this is actually going to be very interesting in regards to this, my main contention with The Last Jedi is not. I mean, I don't think it is a good film. We'll talk about that. But my main issue with it is that it completely sets the trilogy up to fail.
All right,
because it does its own thing, right? And that's my main problem with it. So yes,
within
the Star Wars canon, TLJ is really unhelpful.
No, and I think, okay, I'm going to just talk for a bit and try and get my thoughts out as I
this
talk.
Should be good.
So give me a little bit of leeway until I finish, because this is not a fully formed thought. But I think that The Last Jedi is good for the simple reason that it tries to do something different. And if you look at both Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker, they're not trying to do anything new. Force Awakens is actually the worst contender for this, because that's just beat for beat a New Hope. You can watch them side by side and they're the same film. And Rise of Skywalker looked at The Last Jedi, which, if I'm being unkind to it, I think you can call an interesting failure. I don't think it is an interesting failure, but I think that's one way to look at it. It looked at the Rise of Skywalker looked at The Last Jedi as an interesting failure and went, well, shit, let's run back to what we know, which is essentially Return of the Jedi. And that's what Rise of Skywalker is. It's Return of the Jedi again. And both of those are boring. We did those. You can go and see them. They're better films. It's A New Hope and, Return of the Jedi.
Agreed.
What The Last Jedi did that I think is really interesting is it's not Empire. it's not a Star Wars film, really. Other than the fact that it's set in the Star Wars universe with Star Wars characters, I don't think it's a Star Wars film, and that's why I love it, because they basically said to Rian Johnson, well, I don't know if they said this to Rian Johnson because he got fired, so maybe they didn't. Go and make a different film. Go and make a good film in our universe. Do what the fuck you like with it, and see what happens. And what happened was a film that I really like, and I know other people out there really like as well, and proper Star Wars fans, quote unquote, hate it because it's not what they think Star Wars is. But I contend that what they think Star Wars is something that they've invented for themselves, right? Because Star Wars isn't what most people think it is, because it's just fantasy in space, and that's why the Force is just magic. The Force in Star Wars satisfies the same narrative purpose that magic does in a fantasy film. Star Wars is not sci-fi.
You just had to bring that one in, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to tick that one off as well.
No, I'm just not. I'm not gonna go there. Yes. So, I see your point.
Okay.
And I actually really, and this might actually hurt me to say this, I actually really 100% agree with you that the great thing about Star Wars is not the films. The great thing about Star Wars is, as you say, it's just fantasy in space, and it is great. And this is why I actually preferred, memorably, that my two favorite films were the Star Wars stories rather than the actual Star Wars saga.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And that decision wasn't primarily fueled because I thought that frame for frame they were better films, because I don't think I can say that. But they did what I always do with Star Wars, and what I like doing. Why Star Wars games, for example, are so great. You just go in there and you have a story, and it's really good fun. So
yeah,
they
are both fun in a way that a lot of the main saga is not fun, because it's taking itself too seriously and trying to do too much.
Now, TLJ. So it comes down to this. Do I agree with you that that's what it's trying to do? And I'm just not convinced that it A, does do that, and B, succeeds in doing it if it does do that.
So you don't agree that it tries, and if it does try, you don't agree it succeeds?
Yes. I think it's just not a great film. But I will let you explain to me why I might be wrong about that.
Okay. So I think it's a good film because what it did, the issue with all of the Star Wars films, other than The Last Jedi, is that they're just about Luke Skywalker. Right? So the first one is Luke Skywalker. So A New Hope is Luke Skywalker discovers that the stories are true. The second one is Luke Skywalker learns that he's important, and the third one is Luke Skywalker fulfills his destiny. And then Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith, yeah. Are about how Luke Skywalker's dad has Luke Skywalker as a child. And Force Awakens is just, where is Luke Skywalker? And Rise of Skywalker is, who's the new Luke Skywalker? That is those films, writ down to their absolute bare bones, and probably slightly uncharitably. Last Jedi goes, who the fuck cares about Luke Skywalker? Seriously? And even Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, on screen says, I'm not special. What, you think I'm going to walk out there and win this by swinging a laser sword around? It takes a step back from this one person can change the course of a galaxy, and looks at the struggle of the rebellion, or whatever the fuck it's called at that point, and says, everyone involved in this struggle is important. It's not just Luke Skywalker, or even Luke, Han, and Leia, or Rey, Finn, Poe. There are all of these
Ah.
other characters that we care about.
But you see, but this is a slight point of contention. I don't fully disagree with you that that's probably where he was heading, he being Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
But that message is a bit garbled because they sort of have that big thing at the end where Rey lifts the rocks, and you're like, oh yeah, Rey, she's the new Luke. She's the one that's going to galvanize the galaxy against
but
the new order or something.
Against the New Order, yeah. But
and
while
it's
that's
like if you don't do that, if your main message for your film that is supposed to be so very different is what you've described. And this is my issue with TLJ. Like it does try interesting new things, and then it just bungles them up.
and maybe it does bungle them. I think that the framing of that shot at the end with Rey moving the rocks to save what's left of the Resistance. Is that what they called at that point? Just call them the Rebellion.
The Resistance, yeah, I know. Just call them the Rebellion.
Just call them the
Why
Rebellion.
would they have a name change, right?
Also, what are they resisting? Because they were the Republic. So why aren't they just the last of the fuck off? Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah, they could just be the Republic. Yeah.
They could just be the Republic. They should just be the Republic. But the story doesn't work if they're the ones in charge because they have to be the plucky underdogs.
Yeah.
Anyway,
J.J. Abrams for all that.
Yeah, I do blame J.J. Abrams for that. Actually, I blame J.J. Abrams for everything that's wrong with.
Now, talk of people with no imagination, my goodness.
Yeah, I think I'll just. But anyway, so the point of the framing of that shot is it's off the back of Ben Solo, Kylo Ren saying, your parents are nobody, you're nothing. And it's about her coming to terms with the fact that her parents were nobody and she's come from nothing doesn't matter, because what matters is what you choose to do when given the ability to make change. Right? So she's not ignoring Rise of Skywalker, which I tried to do at every possible moment of my life. Ignoring Rise of Skywalker, Rey is special because she chooses to be special. She's not special because she's born to be the next great hope, as Luke is, right? As the son of Anakin. She's special because she's got some power and she chooses to do heroic things with it. That's the point of that film, I think. She comes from nothing, and it's because of her choices and her beliefs that she's able to be heroic. And I think that's a really powerful message. And I accept that maybe it doesn't do it as well as it could, but I think the fact that it tries to do that is so important.
The problem is it also tries to do it at the same time of showing a very almost bipolar Finn. He's a bit all over the shop in that film, I find. He finds his feet a bit. He finds his feet, but he's a bit all over the shop. And the same is kind of true of Poe. Like, he tries to be the hero, but then he essentially mutinies. And it's just so, yeah, bungled is my only word for it. Like, 'cause I can kind of see what you're saying. Is like, if they set it up in such a way that you really do have Finn, Poe, Rey, who are all just normal people.
But so take Poe for a moment, because honestly, I think Finn is quite irredeemable in that film. Although there's an element of coming to terms with the fact that all of your friends are more special than you are. But then Han Solo has to do that in Empire and Jedi.
And if he's doing what you're saying Rian Johnson is doing, then he just didn't do Finn any justice.
I don't think Finn has done justice in The Last Jedi. I think that there was an attempt to do something relatively interesting with Finn and Rose on that planet that is a casino, and Warwick Davies plays a gremlin, and Benicio del Toro.
Rose is a problem, right? And I'm willing to forgive Rian Johnson perhaps a little bit, because I think he sort of tries to set the scene, kinda.
Yeah.
And then J.J. Abrams goes, nah.
No.
Get fucked.
But Benicio del Toro is also there, in a very confusing way. But
yeah, that's a big weakness of the whole film.
there's a lot of and so is also there in that film, which doesn't help. And I do wonder a little bit if part of the problem was that Rian Johnson knew he was only going to get one bite of the cherry. He's just like, yeah, I'm too out there for Star Wars, so I've got to get all of my messages into one. But they're trying to do something with, there are no good guys in a war. The guy who's selling the TIE fighters to the First Order is also the guy selling X-Wings to the Resistance. And okay, yes, maybe there's a point there about military-industrial complex and war profiteering and all of that. But if that's what your Star Wars film is about, make that what your Star Wars film is about.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have the time, shockingly, you don't have the time in a 2-hour-long film to make that point if you're also making the point that you're trying to make with the kid at the end who can use the Force, who's the guy sweeping out the stables in a high-flying casino planet who's getting beaten, right? You can't do both, and trying to do both is part of the problem.
Exactly, and in order to do that justice, I think it's something that I think the prequels kind of tried. They're like, oh, let's show you the inner workings of the Republic and the Senate, etc. And it's
you can't do that
sort of
if you're
why, but no one really cares.
You can't show us the inner workings of the Senate and do that justice if you also want your pitched battle between 250 Jedi and 7,000 droids.
Yeah,
right.
Because
you'll
comes
lose
down to good
something.
versus bad, which is what Star Wars is all about. It's very well defined good versus very well defined bad.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think, I think that if The Last Jedi had just accepted that Star Wars is simple, it has a simple cosmology. There are good guys and there are bad guys, and there's good and bad inside everyone. And what's interesting about Star Wars is the struggle between good and bad inside people. Right? If that was what The Last Jedi was, if it accepted that simple premise and then looked at, so let's focus on that character struggle in 4 characters.
Yeah. And I think we touched on this before, right? The fact that what I was hoping for, and I think you were similar, is that when they were setting up Rey and Kylo, or Ben rather, that's where I thought they were going to go. It's like, oh, there's bad and good in these people because there is in all of us.
Yeah.
And yet they make decisions and everything works out by and large for the best.
Yeah.
Right? Get away from this light side versus dark side. But it's like they didn't want to commit to it.
I think that's right. And I don't know. I don't know why they didn't commit to it.
I think they didn't. A bit like what your argument was with the Loki post-credit scene, the TV show. I think MCU as well as Star Wars just don't give their viewers enough credit.
Disney, right? Because that's
I suppose it's Disney. Yeah,
that's the commonality between the MCU and Star Wars. And I'm someone who will defend Disney a lot of the time because people go, "Oh no, Disney ruined Star Wars," and maybe they did, but they also funded 5 Star Wars films. Without Disney, we don't get any new Star Wars.
And as we've said many times on this show, we're all massive fans of Star Wars, and all the films are great.
Yeah,
what you want to do
even
is just
the
watch a
bad
film
ones
sit in space. Exactly, because they're just fun.
Yeah.
But that said, TLJ is rubbish.
So I'm not losing that tinfoil then.
I don't think you are. I think you've defended your opinion well.
But my opinion itself is tinfoil worthy. I can take that.
I feel in the discussion you're also not entirely convinced yourself that he's done what he set out to do.
No, I don't know that I am convinced that he's done what he's set out to do, but I think the fact that he set out to do it is more important than people give credit for. I think...
I will agree with, yes.
I think I need to look exactly when The Last Jedi was released.
But I will agree with that, and we have to bear in mind, I guess, as well, that maybe Rian Johnson's actual full vision was what you're describing, and would have been amazing, but he was reined in by producers and
think about the fact, right? I love that. If you search for The Last Jedi, people also asked, why is The Last Jedi hated? Was The Last Jedi a flop? Is Rey actually the Last Jedi? Who is the Last Jedi, Luke or Rey? Fuck off.
I mean, the naming of all the films has always been confusing, to say the least.
I think it's got a 91% score on Rotten Tomatoes.
91, really?
That's
got to be the
huge.
best Star Wars one, no?
It must. I don't know. Empire's probably got 100% because people just believe that Empire is the best Star Wars film because there was that Empire article that said it's the third best film ever.
Yes, that's true.
Which
I mean, they're always
funny.
difficult comparisons, right? Because you have to bear in mind that they were made 20 years apart.
And the rest,
the first three were 20 years apart. Then you had and then you almost had 20 years again for maybe less than that, like 15 or so.
Well, The Last Jedi was released in 2017, and Phantom Menace was late 90s, early 1999. So nearly 20 years.
That's the first of the prequels, wasn't it? I don't know how long it took. It was probably like 4 or 5 years.
I can do this. 2015. December 15 would have been Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, basically 15 years. That's probably right.
Good long gap. I mean, and cinema evolves within that time.
Massively. I really like. Sorry, this is just me because I'm a child, but 69% of Google users like The Last Jedi, and I'm sorry, but I'm a child.
Those are always very difficult questions for me because, in isolation, if someone goes up to me and says, "Do you think The Last Jedi was a good film?" I'll probably say yes because I really enjoy watching it.
Yeah.
When we then put it into context of best Star Wars films and the role they play in the series, then that's a very different story.
Yeah, that's a very, very different story. And I think we both agree on this. I think Rise of Skywalker retrospectively makes The Last Jedi worse.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And I think it's really hard to isolate The Last Jedi from Rise of Skywalker. I think we differ on why it makes The Last Jedi worse, but it just does.
Yeah. Well, I will never get over the space chase in The Last Jedi. It's just so stupid. It's so stupid.
I just don't care, though. Right? In the same way that the trench run makes no sense. Right? In New Hope, the trench run just doesn't make sense. Because that's not how space combat would work. Because they're not aerodynamic, so you don't have to run the trench to get the thing in. It just doesn't make any sense. It's 2-dimensional combat written 3 dimensions, and it assumes aerodynamics where none exist.
But it's so old that we should just give it a break.
But that's the thing. A New Hope gets a pass for the trench run because it's old, and I guess we didn't understand space in the 60s and 70s. Maybe, I don't know. Or 80s, whatever it was.
On the moon, so.
Yeah, it's true, we didn't land on the moon. 80s, sorry. But The Last Jedi doesn't get a break because you can't do a chase scene in space. And also, you tricked me into admitting that it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
But I think, okay, so
you would have actually had more luck defending the Force is just magic, by the way.
You reckon?
I reckon there's a decent case to be made there. I think it does the Force a bit of disservice, but there's a case to be made there. But unfortunately, you elected not to, and I think our time is up, so get wrecked.
That's fair. Fair enough.
I mean, look at that. We had an argument about The Last Jedi, and no one's throwing things around.
No, it's true. We've done. I think we're maturing.
I don't think that's true. I think we're just tired. You because of parenting duties, me because it's just coming up towards the end of the year and there's a lot of stuff going on. So,
fair enough.
That or just copious amounts of alcohol consumed over the last 2 weeks.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
Possible.
It's only it's the run up to Christmas, mate. It's only going to get worse.
It is only going to get worse. So, in conclusion, are we rescinding any tinfoils?
I think The only one that comes close is Loki is definitely not dead, and I don't think we can. I don't think that one can get rescinded either, just because of how certain you put it across.
The certainty, and I stand by the certainty, but I could see
That's the
why.
thing. If you were
can't,
to
yeah.
step back from the certainty, if that definitely was probably or almost certainly, we could take it away. But because you refuse to budge on the certainty,
well, we will come back to that one, I am sure, once we've seen the next few MCU films.
Sure.
See if Tom Hiddleston's Loki is alive.
But even if he's in them, that doesn't make your certainty at the time correct.
Okay, but we can have a philosophical debate about that.
All right.
Yeah, so it just remains for me to say thanks so much for listening to this episode of Expertise is Overrated. No doubt we've said some things that were either objectively wrong or downright offensive. As ever, feel free to let us know, rate the podcast, and leave us a comment or drop us an email at expertiseisoverrated@gmail.com. Tweet us at @zeroexpertise. Check out our website, expertiseisoverrated.podbean.com, or come join us on our Discord server.
If you're lucky, we might just argue with you in one of our upcoming episodes, and if you're really lucky, we might just call you an idiot. Now, as we said last time, we're still not quite back to our regular schedule, for which apologies. But in our next episode, whenever that might be, you can get very excited because we're introducing a brand new Expertise is Overrated segment. So this will be titled You Wake Up As... And for our very first one of these, we'll be asking how Vib and I would survive waking up as Joffrey Baratheon. So join us then for more nonsense.